Well, the high school football season in South Dakota concluded over the weekend. We still have some football in Iowa and Minnesota. We'll touch on that in a minute. But our 7 state champions, Gregory, Howard, Hamlin, Parkston, Del Rapids, Yankton, and for the second straight year, Lincoln, who was the only repeat champion. What are you going to remember from championship weekend 2014?
Without question, one of the best games ever was Yankton and Brookings in overtime. Yankton with a 24-6 lead.
Looked safe.
With a guy coming off the bench and making a bunch of one-handed catches and looking like, he's going to be the hero. And then Brookings all of a sudden decides we better get going here, Mikey, we need to get some touchdowns. And Mikey Daniel runs 64 yards with 3-something left in the game to put him
on
ahead.
A 4th and 1 too,
to put him ahead, 27-24. And then Brady Hale kicks a 45-yard field goal to tie it. A 45-yard field goal.
Not easy.
I realize it's not 50.
And it's in the dome.
Like Wesley Dvorak kicked for Parkston, but 45 with the game on the line makes it, and Yankton then scores in overtime to take the lead. They kick the extra point. Brookings comes right back with Mikey Daniel. They score what looks to be the tying touchdown, but Lee Schmidt decides, let's just win it now. We're gassed. They may be gassed, but let's put it all on the line in this one play, and it was a good defensive play, and they just had the pass broken up in the end zone. At one point, loss. But I admired both. I guess the point is,
neither
it was a phenomenal game. I admire Lee for going for 2. It was just a memorable game for sure.
All the games were actually pretty good. I think at least 5 of them were
7 games were really competitive.
Going into the fourth quarter, we're in there, and I think with Brookings, they made the right call. I think I even heard Lee saying after the game that we were getting gassed. We didn't know how many more overtimes we could keep doing this. So, and with Yankton, that's just kind of fitting of the way their whole season went. It was a magical year.
Yeah,
Team of destiny.
Yeah, all that stuff. Because you think about, this was the 3rd overtime game that they won. They were down 21-0 to Brandon Valley, was it?
Valley was killing them.
21-0, came all the way back to win the game in overtime.
O'Gorman.
Yep, that was a great game. The game that started off in Yankton and finished up in Aberdeen, and they were behind at halftime. Yeah, this was really a magical season for Arlen Lickness and his Bucks. It was really something. But
you feel for
they were the best 2 teams. What was really good about it was in most all of the championship games, once the season got going, I remember sitting down and going, I think Woolsey, Washington, and Howard would be a great championship game. And they both made it to the championship game. I sure think Yankton and Brookings would be the best matchup. It turned out to be a phenomenal matchup.
Even Parkston, St. Thomas More, because Parkston had been so dominant, and then St. Thomas More gets a great game from their quarterback, and they miss a field goal at basically the buzzer. They were within a few shots of winning it, and Parkston gets their first ever state football title in their 4th try.
Yeah, seems hard to believe that they had never won one, because they've had some great teams. They've got phenomenal sports winning tradition in Parkston. They've done it in a lot of different sports, so it was good to see that they finally got their first football championship. And
I think the same for Gregory too. That's their first title, I believe, as well, or is that their first since?
I'm not sure. They've been to the Dome a lot over the years.
That's a football area around there with the winners and all that. So that's huge there. And the one that you talk about sitting down before the season, I don't know that many people expected Lincoln to go unbeaten again, losing all those seniors, especially Caden Quintanilla. Make sure we get the name right. But next man in was Braxton Large, and he lived up to his last name.
Yeah, and he got better as the season went along too. He kind of became the guy. I thought they were more of a diverse team in the beginning, and they really became. And that's what you almost have to be when you're playing all these games in the outdoors, in the playoffs. You've got to be able to run the football to be able to win a championship and to keep on winning. And yeah, he was big in several of all of their playoff games. Braxton came up big. saved his best for last.
And give some credit to Roosevelt, too. Of course, lost Taryn Christian. That was one of the real shames of the season. We didn't get to see him play the whole way through. But Jet Thune did a very good job, had a good title game. And, in fact, this year's title game was better than the one a year ago. Lincoln pulled away and won pretty handily the previous year.
Right down to the end. If you looked at the score in the paper and saw 28-14, you're like, Lincoln won by 2 touchdowns. No, it was a heartbreaking play in the end zone for Roosevelt that didn't tie the game up. Right. And then just at that point, you're trying to strip the ball, and boom, he goes, 90 yards for a touchdown. So it was a great game between a couple of teams that have really good football programs in 11 AAA.
Only about, another 60 or so weeks till Football Friday returns, but we still have six.
There's 52 weeks in the year.
Okay, well, I'm not a math major.
40 weeks.
We need some time. We need a little break from football. CSU education right there. CSU.
Oh, that's Colorado State.
At least we're ranked in football now, so,
Good for you guys.
We're not math majors. Right. There is still football to be played.
Wow.
I know my math is right on this. We still got football games this week. We actually got
we have
4
3 Minnesota teams left.
4 games of area interest. We got
3 Minnesota teams, 2 Iowa teams. That's 5 teams.
I'm not going to live that one down.
Westline goes for another championship. Sioux Center, I don't see anybody beating Sioux Center. They've had a great year. They go for a championship in Iowa. I think both those games are on
Friday. The Westline game is at 10:00. I think it's 11:06 or 10:06 in the morning, and then they follow with Sioux Center.
I think it's 11:06 and 2:06.
I gotta say, Westline has been impressive because they started the year with a big loss to Central Lyon. They got hammered by Central Lyon at home. They've regrouped nicely, and Sioux Center, that defense is just is vicious.
They're really good. Jay Roseboom at West Lyon he's one of the best coaches around, period. He's won, 250 games, something like that. I mean, he's just like Jay a lot. He's a very successful coach. And you look at West Lyon, they probably have put more guys into a big-time college football programs than any other school in this entire region. And it's West Lyon. It's not even a town. It's a combination of towns.
They got another
it's
one
a
this
consolidated
year.
school, and it's unbelievable the number of players they've put into big-time college football.
Yeah, they've got another one, a lineman who's going to Iowa then after the season, so I guess Kirk Ferentz loves coming out to this part of the country. And Minnesota, too. This is, you alluded to it. We've got Edgerton Ellsworth in the 9-man title game. That's going to be outdoors, which could be potentially very cold. On Friday. That's a 10 a.m. game. Both of these games are early kicks. Edgerton Ellsworth's had a really nice season, a really nice run in these playoffs after they had to come back in the semifinal or in the section title game.
That's right. It came down to a touchdown pass in the final minute.
Yeah, and the momentum just hasn't stopped for them. They've kept that going. And then the one that could be really fun is we've got 2 in all Southwest Minnesota final, Dawson Boyd and Minneota Lincoln High at 10 a.m. on Saturday in the Class A title game. When's the last time we've had? First, you've been here long enough. When's the last time we've had 2 area teams in a Minnesota title game?
I've been here almost 60 years. Yeah. Actually, it's been 40 almost.
Close.
Yeah, I don't remember one, to be honest. And these are 2 teams that have played each other once during the course of the year. Dawson Boyd with that big win over Monolman to get into this game, the team that had a 39-game win streak, and the Blackjacks pulled off the big win there, and they've got tons of tradition there. But they're going to have their hands full against Minneota Lincoln High. They have been steamrolling everybody, absolutely everybody, and they're a powerful football team.
Well, we have those state games in Iowa and Minnesota. Also, can't forget the final leg of the fall sports season in South Dakota concludes this week with the state volleyball tournaments. We've got AA in Yankton. We've also got them in the A's are in Watertown, and the B's are up in Aberdeen. O'Gorman's been the dominant team in AA. Sioux Falls Christian has been dominant in A. Did Warner make it in, or was it Northwestern who got in this year? I know Warner's been...
Warner.
Okay. Well, Warner lost a lot of. I mean, Warner lost one of the best players in the state, in Miranda Ristow, and they just keep rolling.
They just reload. Yeah. They're that good. I've made this, although it's funny you brought up Northwestern, because I was talking about this on the radio show today, where how unfair it was that USF didn't get in football. Well, how unfair is it that every year Warner and Northwestern have to play in the district championship? They don't even get to regions. They go to district, and they lose in that. One of the two teams loses, and generally it's the second or third best team in the state that doesn't even get out of its district. So, that's life. It's too bad. But Warner's not lost a Class B match in a long time. You might recall a couple of years ago, they did not lose a set. Yeah.
That's pretty good. My math tells me that's good.
Yes, that was before you got here. So, they did not lose a set the entire season, which is absolutely, that's beyond incredible that they did that. But that's what the Monarchs are good every single year. They send girls off to play college volleyball every single year, and they just keep reloading. The sixth graders all want to grow up to be Monarchs and play in the State B volleyball tournament. And they've won the last couple of basketball crowns, too. Yeah. So, very talented group of young ladies.
The A tournament has been, I remember the last couple of years, it's been kind of interesting with the A's, because usually the team that comes in as the top seed has gotten upsets. So, and I think that included Sioux Falls Christian last year, I think. They're the favorite again, but that's usually one of the more wide open fields every year.
Well, they're the favorite, but Dakota Valley is right there, too. Yeah. They're a very talented team. So, I think it's almost a toss-up between those two as far as who's the favorite going in. Back to the B, Warner obviously is the favorite there, and up to the AA, no question, O'Gorman with Taryn Cloth is going to go play at Creighton. They're the heavy favorites there. Aberdeen's good, Huron's good. I don't know. It's going to be tough for any of them to beat this team, because they have the whole team back from last year's state title.
And they weren't. I mean, they weren't the favorite a year ago. It was kind of thought that Roosevelt would be the team last year, and they pulled that title out and actually swept the title game in Mitchell.
Well, I think some people may have thought Roosevelt was the best team, but I know for a fact the O'Gorman team and their coaches and everybody else felt from within that they were the best team. And as it turned out, they were right. They were the best team. They maybe didn't have. I mean, Roosevelt had some very talented individual players, but the best team wins, and O'Gorman really played well as a team last year.
Well, again, that's all this weekend. Still a lot happening, and we'll be back next week before Thanksgiving to give you your fill, if you will, of the local sports scene. Should be a fun week. A lot of other stuff going on, too. We've also got a game later today at the Pentagon between Memphis and Wichita State, and they love that. I don't think they love the snow and the cold, but they love the new arena. I think we can still call it relatively new arena at the Pentagon.
Well, it's only a year old. It opened October 10th of last year was when the first event was there. I believe it was the Timberwolves and Milwaukee Bucks game, and then of course we had the game between Wisconsin and St. John's. We talked to players and coaches and from the two different schools today about the Pentagon. They had a chance to watch it or feel what it was like to be in there practicing, and everybody that comes in there loves it.
And we did have one other note I should mention. The Sioux Falls did not get did not get chosen to host the opening rounds of the NCAA men's basketball tournament. That was the selection process was from 2016 to 2019, so we're going to have to wait at least 3-4 years to put another bid in. Not necessarily a surprise, because this was our first bid with the new Denny Sanford Premier Center. Allegedly, we were pretty close. I know officials say they were talking to him just 10 days ago, so they feel like they were a finalist. There'd been some national media reports that Sioux Falls was in the mix for the first four. Especially if we can get the women's tournament, and those announcements are coming up later this week. I think eventually Sioux Falls will get this. When you go on the Denny Sanford Premier, there's no doubt in my mind that venue can host, and the way we keep building things here, it's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger as we get closer to the next bid.
If I were the NCAA, I think I would want to see how things go at the event center. Obviously, Sioux Falls filled the arena, but that's not nearly big enough to host something like this. If I'm the NCAA, I probably want to see how the Summit League tournament goes in Sioux Falls and see if they do get awarded one of the women's tournaments.
And even the Division II tournaments. We got a lot of the Division II. I mean,
yeah, but those are not at the event center. I'm talking the event center. They want to be convinced that we're going to have 12,000 people at those games, and I think they're going to probably put a lot of stock in how the attendance is for the Summit League tournaments.
I just don't know that you can necessarily measure the Summit League the same way, because the NCAA brings in, this is the big dance. These are bringing in the bigger, whereas, okay, Summit League, we have our local teams, but not everybody's going to show up to see IPFW in Western Illinois.
No, they're not, but there's going to be more people that care to go watch. You look at the fans in this area, if State and the U are playing in the semifinals, different games, whatever, there's a lot more interest in that than there would even be in this tournament that you're talking about. So, because people aren't, the teams that make that play-in tournament, which is the one we were talking about having, the fans aren't going to travel real well for something like that. They're going to travel real well for the next step.
Yeah.
So they're relying on what's the attendance, what's the support going to be like from that community for basketball. I think it would be good. I think we'd probably sell it out, but I'm just saying from the NCAA's point of view, I think they probably want to see how well it goes now with an arena that's twice as big.
Well, I think it's a good sign, too, that Des Moines and Wichita, who'd been bidding for it a number of times, and they'd gotten shut down. At least they were both selected. So at least it shows they are looking. I mean, again, they had so many years where they had it in those bigger arenas, and they had a lot of empty seats, and they're kind of starting to figure out that, well, maybe less is more in this case. We don't have to go to the biggest place. Let's go somewhere where people are really passionate for this, and we'll sell it out. Well, that'll do it for this week's Sports Blog. We'll see you next week. Hopefully, we're talking some more playoffs, or a USD upset win, one of the two.
Stampede are rolling, too. They won 2 games last weekend, gave up 1 goal. Steph Lekes was named the USHL Goalie of the Week, gave up 1 goal on 49 shots. And they're getting right back up to that 500 mark and getting right back up in the middle of the pack as opposed to being down at the bottom where they had some tough losses. The weekend before, they lost 2 games in overtime. So
a lot of their losses have been in overtime, so at least they're picking up some points as well if they can start getting it rolling. But they beat Des Moines 5-0. Des Moines had actually been off to a very good start. I know they've been down the last couple of years. Then they go to Waterloo, who'd been their nemesis for the last couple of years. One was in the Clark Cup final a year ago and beat them 5-1. Now, obviously, they're maybe not the same as they were a year ago, but still, it's nice to see them scoring goals too, especially after the early droughts.
Yeah, that was the big concern because a couple of years ago, before Kerry Eads got here, I mean that last year that Kevin was the coach, they just couldn't score. I mean, they were a great defensive team. They had good goalies, but when you're averaging less than 2 goals a game, you're not going to win.
That's good math.
Thank you.
That'll do it for this edition of the Sports Blog.
Luckily, one of us knows math. Yes. In 60 weeks, we'll be starting high school football.
I think we might be starting the new year after we start that, but I don't know. My brain's still frozen. Yeah, I'm by.